Made. A made mast or block is one composed of different pieces. A ship's lower mast is a made spar. Her topmast is a whole spar. Maul or maul, pronounced maul. A heavy iron hammer used in driving bolts. See top maul. Mallet. A small maul made of wood, as caulking mallet. Also serving mallet, used in putting service on a rope. Manger. A coaming just within the hawse hole. Man ropes. Ropes used in going up and down a vessel's side. Marl. To wind or twist a small line or rope round another. Marline, pronounced marlin. Small two-stranded stuff used for marling. A finer kind of spun yarn. Marling hitch. A kind of hitch used in marling. Marling spike. An iron pin, sharpened at one end and having a hole in the other for a lanyard, used both as a fid and a heaver. Marry. To join ropes together by worming over both. Martingale. A short, perpendicular spar under the bowsprit end, used for guying down the headstays. See dolphin striker. Mast. A spar set upright from the deck to support rigging, yards, and sails. Masts are whole or made. Mat. Made of strands of old rope and used to prevent chafing. Mate. An officer under the master. Maul. See maul. Mend. To mend service is to add more to it. Meshes. The places between the lines of a netting. Mess. Any number of men who eat or lodge together. Messenger. A rope used for heaving in a cable by the capstan. Midships. The timbers at the broadest part of the vessel. See amidships. Misstays. To fail of going about from one tack to another. See page 65. Mizzenmast. The aftermost mast of a ship. See plate 1. The spanker is sometimes called the mizzen. Monkey block. A small single block strapped with a swivel. Moonsail. A small sail sometimes carried in light winds, above a skysail. Moor. To secure by 2 anchors. See page 83. Mortise. A mortised block is one made out of a whole block of wood with a hole cut in it for the sheave, in distinction from a made block. See page 41. Molds. The patterns by which the frames of a vessel are worked out. Mouse. To put turns of rope yarn or spun yarn round the end of a hook and its standing part when it is hooked to anything, so as to prevent its slipping out. Mousing. A knot or puddening made of yarns and placed on the outside of a rope. Muffle. Oars are muffled by putting mats or canvas round their looms in the rowlocks. Munions. The pieces that separate the lights in the galleries. Naval hoods or hawse bolsters. Plank above and below the hawse holes. Neap tides. Low tides coming at the middle of the moon's 2nd and 4th quarters. See spring tides. Neaped or beneaped. The situation of a vessel when she is aground at the height of the spring tides. Near, close to wind. Near, the order to the helmsman when he is too near the wind. Netting. Network of rope or small lines, used for stowing away sails or hammocks. Nettles. See nittles. 9-pin ball. 9-pin block. A block in the form of a 9-pin, used for a fair leader in the rail. Nip. A short turn in a rope. Nippers. A number of yarns marled together, used to secure a cable to the messenger. Knock, the forward upper end of a sail that sets with a boom. Nun buoy, a buoy tapering at each end. Nut, projections on each side of the shank of an anchor to secure the stock to its place. Oakum, stuff made by picking rope yarns to pieces, used for caulking and other purposes. Oar, a long wooden instrument with a flat blade at one end, used for propelling boats. Off and on, to stand on different tacks towards and from the land. Offing, distance from the shore. Orlop, the deck beneath the lower deck of a ship of the line on which the cables are stowed. Outhaul, a rope used for hauling out the clew of a boom sail. Outrigger, a spar rigged out to windward from the tops or cross trees to spread the breast backstays. See page 14. Overhaul, to overhaul a tackle is to let go the fall and pull on the leading parts so as to separate the blocks. To overhaul a rope is generally to pull a part through a block so as to make slack. To overhaul rigging is to examine it. Overrake, said of heavy seas which come over a vessel's head when she is at anchor, head to the sea. Painter, a rope attached to the bows of a boat, used for making her fast. Palm, a piece of leather fitted over the hand, with an iron for the head of a needle to press against in sewing upon canvas. Also the fluke of an anchor. Panch, see paunch. Parbuckle, to hoist or lower a spar or cask by single ropes passed round it. Parcel, see page 34. To wind tarred canvas, called parceling, round a rope. Parceling, see parcel. Parliament heel, the situation of a vessel when she is careened. Parle, the rope by which a yard is confined to a mast at its center. Part, to break a rope. Partners, a framework of short timber fitted to the hole in a deck to receive the heel of a mast or pump, etc. Passeree, a rope attached to the clew of the foresail and rove through a block on the swinging boom, used for guying the clews out when before the wind. Paunch mat, a thick mat placed at the slings of a yard or elsewhere. Pawl, a short bar of iron, which prevents the capstan or windlass from turning back. To pawl is to drop a pawl and secure the windlass or capstan. Pay off, when a vessel's head falls off from the wind. To pay, to cover over with tar or pitch. To pay out, to slack up on a cable and let it run out. Peak, the upper outer corner of a gaff sail. Peak, see a peak. A stay peak is when the cable and forestay form a line. A short stay peak is when the cable is too much in to form this line. All right, let me reset that string marker there. Pendant or pennant, a long narrow piece of bunting carried at the masthead. Broad pennant is a swallow-tailed piece carried in the same way in a commodore's vessel. Pennant, a rope to which a purchase is hooked, a long strap fitted at one end to a yard or masthead with a hook or block at the other end for a brace to reeve through or to hook a tackle to. Pillow, a block which supports the inner end of the bowsprit. Pin, the axis on which a sheave turns. Also, a short piece of wood or iron to belay ropes to. Pink stern, a high, narrow stern. Pinnacle, pinnace, a boat in size between the launch and a cutter. Pintle, a metal bolt used for hanging a rudder. Pitch, a resin taken from pine and used for filling up the seams of a vessel. Planks. Thick, strong boards used for covering the sides and decks of vessels. Plait. A braid of foxes. See fox. Plate. See chain plate. Plug. A piece of wood fitted into a hole in a vessel or boat so as to let in or keep out water. Point. To take the end of a rope and work it over with nittles. See page 43. See reef points. Pole. Applied to the highest mast of a ship, usually painted as skysail pole. Poop. A deck raised over the after part of the spar deck. A vessel is pooped when the sea breaks over her stern. Poppets. Perpendicular pieces of timber fixed to the fore and aft part of the bilgeways in launching. Port. Used instead of larboard. To port the helm is to put it to the larboard. Port or porthole, holes in the side of a vessel. To point cannon out of. See bridle. Portoise. The gunwale. The yards are a portoise when they rest on the gunwale. Portsails. See sills. Preventer. An additional rope or spar used as a support. Prick. A quantity of spun yarn or rope laid close up together. Pricker. A small marlin spike used in sail making. It generally has a wooden handle. Pudding. A quantity of yarns, matting, or oakum used to prevent chafing. Pump brake. The handle to the pump. Purchase. A mechanical power which increases the force applied. To purchase is to raise by a purchase. Pillow a block of sufficient comfort for the average sailor. See feather pillow for officers. Quarter. The part of a vessel's side between the after part of the main chains and the stern. The quarter of a yard is between the slings and the yardarm. The wind is said to be quartering when it blows in a line between that of the keel and the beam, and abaft the latter. Quarter block. A block fitted under the quarters of a yard on each side the slings, for the clewlines and sheets to reeve through. Quarter deck. The part of the upper deck abaft the main mast. Quartermaster. A petty officer in a man of war, who attends the helm and binnacle at sea and watches for signals, etc. when in port. Quickwork. That part of a vessel's side which is above the chainwales and decks, so called in shipbuilding. Quilting. A coating about a vessel outside, formed of ropes woven together. Coin. A wooden wedge for the breech of a gun to rest upon. Race. A strong, rippling tide. Rack. To seize two ropes together with cross turns. Also a fair leader for running rigging. Rack block. A course of blocks made from one piece of wood for fair leaders. Rake. The inclination of a mast from the perpendicular. Ramline. A line used in mast making to get a straight middle line on a spar. Range of cable. A quantity of cable, more or less, placed in order for letting go the anchor or paying out. Ratlines, pronounced ratlins. Lines running across the shrouds, horizontally, like the rounds of a ladder, and used to step upon in going aloft. Rattle down rigging. To put ratlins upon rigging. It is still called rattling down, though they are now rattled up, beginning at the lowest. See page 11. Razzie. A vessel of war which has one deck cut down. Reef. To reduce a sail by taking in upon its head, if a square sail, and its foot if a fore and aft sail. Reef band. A band of stout canvas sewed on the sail across, with points in it and earrings at each end for reefing. A reef is all the sail that is comprehended between the head of the sail and the first reef band, or between two reef bands. Reef tackle. A tackle used to haul the middle of each leech up toward the yard so that the sail may be easily reefed. Reeve, to pass the end of a rope through a block or any aperture. Relieving tackle. A tackle hooked to the tiller in a gale of wind, to steer by, in case anything should happen to the wheel or tiller ropes. Render, to pass a rope through a place. A rope is said to render or not, according as it goes freely through any place. Rib bands, long, narrow, flexible pieces of timber nailed to the outside of the ribs, so as to encompass the vessel lengthways. Ribs, a figurative term for a vessel's timbers. Ride at anchor, to lie at anchor, also to bend or bear down by main strength and weight, as to ride down the main tack. Riders, interior timbers placed occasionally opposite the principal ones, to which they are bolted, reaching from the keelson to the beams of the lower deck. Also, casks forming the second tier in a vessel's hold. Rigging, the general term for all the ropes of a vessel. See running, standing. Also, the common term for the shrouds with their ratlins, as in the main rigging, mizzen rigging, etc. Right, to right the helm, is to put it amidships. Rim, the edge of a top. Ring, the iron ring at the upper end of an anchor, to which the cable is bent. Ring bolt, an eye bolt with a ring through the eye. See eye bolt. Ringtail, a small sail, shaped like a jib, set abaft the spanker in light winds. Roach, a curve in the foot of a square sail, by which the clews are brought below the middle of the foot. The roach of a fore and aft sail is in its forward leech. Road or roadstead, an anchorage at some distance from the shore. Robins, see rope bands. Rolling tackle, tackles used to steady the yards in a heavy sea. Rhomboline, condemned canvas, rope, etc. Rope bands or robins, small pieces of 2 or 3 yarn, spun yarn or marline, used to confine the head of the sail to the yard or gaff. Rope yarn, a thread of hemp or other stuff, of which a rope is made. See page 33. Rough tree, an unfinished spar. Round in, to haul in on a rope, especially a weather brace. Round up, to haul up on a tackle. Rounding, a service of rope, hove round a spar or larger rope. Rowlocks or rowlocks, places cut in the gunwale of a boat for the oar to rest in while pulling. Royal, a light sail next above a topgallant sail. See plate 2. Royal yard, the yard from which the royal is set. The fourth from the deck. See plate 1. Rubber, a small instrument used to rub or flatten down the seams of a sail in sail-making. Rudder, the machine by which a vessel or boat is steered. Run, the after part of a vessel's bottom, which rises and narrows in approaching the sternpost. By the run, to let go by the run is to let go altogether, instead of slacking off. Rung heads, the upper ends of the floor timbers. Runner, a rope used to increase the power of a tackle. It is rove through a single block which you wish to bring down, and a tackle is hooked to each end, or to one end, the other being made fast. Running rigging, the ropes that reeve through blocks and are pulled and hauled, such as braces, halyards, etc., in opposition to the standing rigging, the ends of which are securely seized, such as stays, shrouds, etc. See page 33. All right, here we go. Saddles, pieces of wood hollowed out to fit on the yards, to which they are nailed, having a hollow in the upper part for the boom to rest in. Sag, to sag to leeward, is to drift off bodily to leeward. Sails are of 2 kinds. Square sails, which hang from yards, their foot lying across the line of the keel, as the courses, topsails, etc., and fore and aft sails, which set upon gaffs or on stays, their foot running with the line of the keel, as jib, spanker, etc. Sail ho, the cry used when a sail is first discovered at sea. Save all, a small sail sometimes set under the foot of a lower studding sail. See water sail. Scantling, a term applied to any piece of timber with regard to its breadth and thickness, when reduced to the standard size. Scarf, to join two pieces of timber at their ends by shaving them down and placing them overlapping. Schooner, see Plate 4. A small vessel with two masts and no tops. A fore and aft schooner has only fore and aft sails. A topsail schooner carries a square fore topsail and frequently also topgallant sail and royal. There are some schooners with three masts. They also have no tops. A main topsail schooner is one that carries square topsails, fore and aft. Score, a groove in a block or deadeye. Scotchman, a large batten placed over the turnings in of rigging. See batten. Scraper, a small triangular iron instrument with a handle fitted to its center and used for scraping decks and masts. Schooner, the amount of rum you get on a holiday. Water sail, things are going poorly. Boom, the mic that is used to hear all the shanties and cursing and spanking. Oh, the shanties. Am I going to have to sing a shanty before we finish this book? Speaking of related to... Thank you. I do hope that... I'm hopeful for the funding issues getting resolved. We got some really good ideas, and some of them are really simple for us to implement, like we're going to set up a Ko-fi account for the convention so people can just tip us and donate, and we're going to start doing year-round stuff, not just the once-a-year annual event. Scrowl, a piece of timber bolted to the knees of the head in place of a figurehead. Scud, to drive before a gale with no sail or only enough to keep the vessel ahead of the sea. Also, low, thin clouds that fly swiftly before the wind. Scull, a short oar. To scull is to impel a boat by one oar at the stern. Scuppers, holes cut in the waterways for the water to run from the decks. Scuttle, a hole cut in a vessel's deck as a hatchway. Also, a hole cut in any part of a vessel. To scuttle is to cut or bore holes in a vessel to make her sink. Scuttlebutt, see butt. Seams, the intervals between planks in a vessel's deck or side. Seize, to fasten ropes together by turns of small stuff. Seizings, see page 42. The fastenings of ropes that are seized together. Selvagey, a skein of rope yarns or spun yarn, marled together, used as a neat strap. See page 42. Send, when a ship's head or stern pitches suddenly and violently into the trough of the sea. Sennet or sinnet, see page 42. A braid formed by plaiting rope yarns or spun yarn together. Straw plaited in the same way for hats is called sennet. Serve, see page 35. To wind small stuff as rope yarns, spun yarn, etc. round a rope to keep it from chafing. It is wound and hove round taut by a serving board or mallet. Service is the stuff so wound round. Set, to set up rigging is to tauten it by tackles. The seizings are then put on afresh. Shackles, links in a chain cable which are fitted with a movable bolt. so that the chain can be separated. Shakes, the staves of hogsheads taken apart. Shank, the main piece in an anchor, at one end of which the stock is made fast, and at the other the arms. Shank painter, a strong rope by which the lower part of the shank of an anchor is secured to the ship's side. Sharp up, set of yards when braced as near fore and aft as possible. Sheaving, a casing or covering on a vessel's bottom. Shears, two or more spars, raised at angles and lashed together near their upper ends, used for taking in masts. See page 44. Sheer hulk, an old vessel fitted with shears, etc., and used for taking out and putting in the masts of other vessels. Sheave, the wheel in a block upon which the rope works. Sheave hole, the place cut in a block for the ropes to reeve through. Sheepshank, a kind of hitch or bend, used to shorten a rope temporarily. See plate 5 and page 42. Sheer or sheer strake, the line of plank on a vessel's side, running fore and aft under the gunwale. Also a vessel's position when riding by a single anchor. Sheet, a rope used in setting a sail, to keep the clew down to its place. With square sails, the sheets run through each yard arm. With boom sails, they haul the boom over one way and another. They keep down the inner clew of a studding sail and the after clew of a jib. See home. Sheet anchor, a vessel's largest anchor, not carried at the bow. Shell, the case of a block. Shingle, see ballast. Ship, a vessel with 3 masts, with tops and yards to each. See plate 4, to enter on board a vessel, to fix anything in its place. Shiver, to shake the wind out of a sail by bracing it so that the wind strikes upon the leech. Shoe, a piece of wood used for the bill of an anchor to rest upon, to save the vessel's side, also for the heels of shears, etc. Shoe block, a block with 2 sheaves, one above the other, the one horizontal and the other perpendicular. Shore, a prop or stanchion placed under a beam. To shore, to prop up. Shrouds, a set of ropes reaching from the mastheads to the vessel's sides, to support the masts. Sills, pieces of timber put in horizontally between the frames to form and secure any opening, as for ports. Sister block, a long piece of wood with 2 sheaves in it, one above the other, with a score between them and a groove around the block lengthwise. Skids, pieces of timber placed up and down a vessel's side to bear any articles off clear that are hoisted in. Skin, the part of a sail which is outside and covers the rest when it is furled. Also, familiarly, the sides of the hold, as an article is said to be stowed next the skin. Skysail, a light sail next above the royal. See plate 2. Skyscraper, a name given to a skysail when it is triangular. Slab line, a small line used to haul up the foot of a course. Slack, the part of a rope or sail that hangs down loose. Slack in stays, said of a vessel when she works slowly in tacking. Sleepers, the knees that connect the transoms to the after timbers on the ship's quarter. Sling, to set a cask, spar, gun, or other article in ropes so as to put on a tackle and hoist or lower it. Slings, the ropes used for securing the center of a yard to the mast. Yard slings are now made of iron. Also a large rope fitted so as to go round any article which is to be hoisted or lowered. Slip, to let a cable go and stand out to sea. See page 85. Slip rope, a rope bent to the cable just outside the hawse hole and brought in on the weather quarter for slipping. See page 85. Sloop, a small vessel with 1 mast. See plate 4. Sloop of war, a vessel of any rig, commanded by a commander in the Navy. Slew, to turn anything round or over. Small stuff, The term for spun yarn, marlin, and the smallest kinds of rope, such as rattlin stuff, etc. Snake, to pass small stuff across a seizing, with marling hitches at the outer turns. Snatch block, a single block with an opening in its side below the sheave, or at the bottom, to receive the bite of a rope. Snotter, a rope going over a yard arm, with an eye, used to bend a tripping line to in sending down topgallant and royal yards in vessels of war. Snow, a kind of brig, formerly used. Snub, to check a rope suddenly. Snying, a term for a circular plank, edgewise, to work in the bows of a vessel. Sow, an order to vast hauling upon anything when it has come to its right position. Sole, a piece of timber fastened to the foot of the rudder, to make it level with the false keel. Sound, to get the depth of water by a lead and line. See page 80. The pumps are sounded by an iron sounding rod, marked with a scale of feet and inches. Span, a rope with both ends made fast, for a purchase to be hooked to its bite. Spanker, the after sail of a ship or bark. It is a fore and aft sail, setting with a boom and gaff. See plate 2. Spar, the general term for all masts, yards, booms, gaffs, etc. Spell, the common term for a portion of time given to any work. To spell is to relieve another at his work. Spell ho, an exclamation used as an order or request to be relieved at work by another. Spencer, a fore and aft sail, set with a gaff and no boom, and hoisting from a small mast called a spencer mast, just abaft the fore and main masts. See plates 2 and 4. Spill, to shake the wind out of a sail by bracing it so that the wind may strike its leach and shiver it. Spilling line, a rope used for spilling a sail, rove in bad weather. Spindle, an iron pin upon which the capstan moves. Also, a piece of timber forming the diameter of a made mast. Also, any long pin or bar upon which anything revolves. Spurketing, the planks from the waterways to the port sills. Splice, see plate 5 and page 35, to join two ropes together by interweaving their strands. Spoondrift, water swept from the tops of the waves by the violence of the wind in a tempest, and driven along before it, covering the surface of the sea. Spray, an occasional sprinkling dashed from the top of a wave by the wind, or by its striking an object. Spring, to crack or split a mast. To spring a leak is to begin to leak. To spring a luff is to force a vessel close to the wind in sailing. Spring stay, a preventer stay, to assist the regular one. See stay. Spring tides, the highest and lowest course of tides, occurring every new and full moon. Sprit, a small boom or gaff, used with some sails in small boats. The lower end rests in a becket or snotter by the foot of the mast, and the other end spreads and raises the outer upper corner of the sail, crossing it diagonally. A sail so rigged in a boat is called a spritsail. Spritsail yard, see plate 1, a yard lashed across the bowsprit or night heads, and used to spread the guys of the jib and flying jib boom. There was formerly a sail bent to it called a spritsail. Spun yarn, see page 35, a cord formed by twisting together 2 or 3 rope yarns. Spurling line, a line communicating between the tiller and telltale. Spurs, pieces of timber fixed on the bilgeways, their upper ends being bolted to the vessel's sides above the water. Also, curved pieces of timber, serving as half beams, to support the decks, where whole beams cannot be placed. Spur shoes, large pieces of timber that come abaft the pump well. Square, yards are squared when they are horizontal and at right angles with the keel. Squaring by the lifts makes them horizontal, and by the braces makes them at right angles with the vessel's line. Also, the proper term for the length of yards. A vessel has square yards when her yards are unusually long. A sail is said to be very square in the head when it is long on the head. Square continued. To square a yard in working a ship means to bring it in square by the braces. Square sail. A temporary sail set at the foremast of a schooner or sloop when going before the wind. See sail. Stabber. A pricker. Staff. A pole or mast used to hoist flags upon. Stanchions. See Plate 3. Upright posts of wood or iron, placed so as to support the beams of a vessel. Also, upright pieces of timber, placed at intervals along the sides of a vessel to support the bulwarks and rail, and reaching down to the bends by the side of the timbers, to which they are bolted. Also, any fixed, upright support, as to an awning or for the man ropes. Stand by, an order to be prepared. Standard, an inverted knee placed above the deck instead of beneath it, as bit standard, etc. Standing. The standing part of a rope is that part which is fast, in opposition to the part that is hauled upon, or the main part, in opposition to the end. The standing part of a tackle is that part which is made fast to the blocks, and between that and the next sheave, in opposition to the hauling and leading parts. Standing rigging. See page 33. That part of a vessel's rigging which is made fast and not hauled upon. See running. Starboard. The right side of a vessel, looking forward. Starbowlins. The familiar term for the men in the starboard watch. Start. To start a cask is to open it. Stay. To tack a vessel, or put her about, so that the wind, from being on one side, is brought upon the other, round the vessel's head. See tack, wear. To stay a mast is to incline it forward or aft, or to one side or the other, by the stays and backstays. Thus, a mast is said to be stayed, too much forward or aft, or too much to port, etc. Stays. Large ropes used to support masts, and leading from the head of some mast down to some other mast, or to some part of the vessel. Those which lead forward are called fore and aft stays, and those which lead down to the vessel's sides, back stays. See backstays. In stays, or hove-in stays, the situation of a vessel when she is staying or going about from one tack to the other. Staysail. A sail which hoists upon a stay. Steady, an order to keep the helm as it is. Steerage, that part of the between decks which is just forward of the cabin. Steeves, a bowsprit steeves more or less, according as it is raised more or less from the horizontal. Steve continued. The steve is the angle it makes with the horizon. Also a long, heavy spar, with a place to fit a block at one end, and used in stowing certain kinds of cargo, which need to be driven in close. Stem. See Plate 3. A piece of timber reaching from the forward end of the keel, to which it is scarfed, up to the bowsprit, and to which the two sides of the vessel are united. Stemson. A piece of compass timber, fixed on the after part of the apron inside. The lower end is scarfed into the keelson, and receives the scarf of the stem, through which it is bolted. Step. A block of wood secured to the keel, into which the heel of the mast is placed. To step a mast is to put it in its step. Stern. See Plate 3. The after end of a vessel. See by the stern. Sternboard. The motion of a vessel when going stern foremost. Stern frame. The frame composed of the stern post transom and the fashion pieces. Stern post. See Plate 3. The aftermost timber in a ship, reaching from the after end of the keel to the deck. The stem and stern post are the two extremes of a vessel's frame. Inner stern post. a post on the inside corresponding to the stern post. Stern sheets, the after part of a boat, abaft the rowers, where the passengers sit. Stiff, the quality of a vessel which enables it to carry a great deal of sail without lying overmuch on her side. The opposite to crank. Stirrups, ropes with thimbles at their ends, through which the foot ropes are rove, and by which they are kept up toward the yards. Stock, a beam of wood, or a bar of iron, secured to the upper end of the shank of an anchor, at right angles with the arms. An iron stock usually goes with the key, and unships. Stocks, the frame upon which a vessel is built. Stools, small channels for the dead-eyes of the backstays. Stopper, a stout rope with a knot at one end and sometimes a hook at the other, used for various purposes about decks, as making fast a cable so as to overhaul. See cat stopper, deck stopper. Stopper bolts, ring bolts to which the deck stoppers are secured. Stop, a fastening of small stuff, also small projections on the outside of the cheeks of a lower mast, at the upper parts of the hounds. Strand, see page 33, a number of rope yarns twisted together. 3, 4, or 9 strands twisted together form a rope. Strand continued. A rope is stranded when one of its strands is parted or broken by chafing or by a strain. A vessel is stranded when she is driven on shore. Strap, a piece of rope spliced round a block to keep its parts well together. Some blocks have iron straps, in which case they are called iron-bound. Streak or strake, a range of planks running fore and aft on a vessel's side. Stream, the stream anchor is one used for warping, etc., and sometimes as a lighter anchor to moor by, with a hawser. It is smaller than the bowers, and larger than the kedges. To stream a buoy is to drop it into the water. Stretchers, pieces of wood placed across a boat's bottom inside for the oarsmen to place their feet against in rowing. Also, cross pieces placed between a boat's sides to keep them apart when hoisted up and griped. Strike, to lower a sail or colors. Studding sails, see plate 2. Light sails set outside the square sails on booms rigged out for that purpose. They are only carried with a fair wind and in moderate weather. Sood or sood. The condition of a ship when she is high and dry on shore. If the water leaves her 2 feet, she soos, or is sood 2 feet. Supporters, the knee timbers under the catheads. Surf, the breaking of the sea upon the shore. Surge, a large, swelling wave. To surge a rope or cable is to slack it up suddenly where it renders round a pin, or round the windlass or capstan. Surge ho! The notice given when a cable is to be surged. Swab, a mop formed of old rope, used for cleaning and drying decks. Sweep, to drag the bottom for an anchor. Also large oars, used in small vessels to force them ahead. Swift, to bring 2 shrouds or stays close together by ropes. Swifter, the forward shroud to a lower mast. Also ropes used to confine the capstan bars to the places when shipped. Swig, a term used by sailors for the mode of hauling off upon the bight of a rope when its lower end is fast. Swivel, a long link of iron, used in chain cables, made so as to turn upon an axis and keep the turns out of a chain. Ciphering, lapping the edges of planks over each other for a bulkhead.